Me and my typos are not important. If you know that there's like a 47% chance that Taco Bell is going to make you sick after you eat it, like, you know, that's an important step. You know, as a human being, like, you look at that, it's like, is it though? Like, is that really? Articulate is way too big a word for them. That study's been debunked. I'm like, you know, by who? By Fox? Yeah, go up on Napster. You can find Aaliyah right now. He takes out a 20 and he drops it on the table. He's like, that's what we're doing. Because I don't shut up, obviously.
Hard Rock Lunchbox.
What is up, everybody? Greetings and salutations. Sorry I'm a bit late. It is yet another cold and rainy April 4th, 2024. It is, man, it is cold outside. I do not like it. I'm actually like, I think my grandmother used to use the phrase chilled to the bone. I feel like I have some of that happening right now, actually. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked about it before, about like climate change, and despite it not being real, apparently, it has a lot to do with a lot of the energy in the atmosphere making these very large storm systems, and you know, ones that can last like 3 days without being a hurricane or whatever it was when I was a kid. But here we are. Had to cancel soccer practice last night because it just would not stop raining, and I'm not a big fan of having the kids play in the cold and rain. It's also supposed to be like an extra 15 degrees warmer this time of year, and it just isn't, man. It's just, I mean, I'll take a cold spring over a frozen winter, like if that's the trade-off I gotta make. But man, even I could use a little warmth, and I am not that guy. I do not like heat. I like being able to wear a hoodie, so I'm very happy in that respect. But man, I am just chilled to the bone. But enough about me. Let's get to the show, shall we? We've got a little light housekeeping here that we can kind of get to. There's a brand new top 20 out today. This morning, I saw that it published, but I did not get a chance to actually review it. Honestly, I don't even remember. I'm so tired these days. I don't even remember what the show is about other than the notes here, where I just talk about some of the moron competence that's going on in the world. That feels like that could be almost any show. But I was talking about paraphrasing versus lying because somebody made a comment about that, which is just, you know, like the trying to argue out stupid is just like I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm really sorry that education failed a lot of people. Like, I really am. Like, I've thrown everything I possibly can at education, including, you know, starting with my own and, you know, making sure that I took school seriously and I went to college and I paid for college. Like, you know, I took it responsibly. I tried to not take it for granted. All my kids have done some college. We've been giving them as much support as I can through school. Even somebody like Charlotte, who has really worked outside the system to try and get the best possible education she has, and I believe she has. I think she has actually achieved the best possible education she could get, and is incredibly far advanced of her beyond her peers, simply because she's advanced into college and, you know, math academies and stuff like that. Like, I'm not even blowing smoke, just factually, like, what she is exposed to is just far beyond what kids her own age are doing in public school. So I feel like educationally, like, I've done what I possibly can, like, on my little slice of the pizza here. But man, I don't even know, like, what to make of most of it. And I try not to be too terribly judgy, but, like, there's just something so funny to me about watching something that's inherently incorrect and then watching it spelled with a bunch of typos. You know what I mean? Like, the correlation there. But it's not just that. Like, I'm pretty good with the typos, certainly towards the end of the day. I've noticed that since I hurt my hand that it's been more and more problematic. Oh, sorry, I was just reading the chat. Good, yes, thank you. Thank you for watching the video for keeping here, yes. it's become more and more problematic, and I just don't type as well. Like I've explained it before. Like I definitely have some nerve degeneration in my neck, and it's causing problems with my index finger, and it's like kind of it's like in a sleep feeling, but it's also like some numbness and some pain. But the biggest problem is like pressure, and like I don't have any fine dexterity in it anymore, which is weird for your index finger, right? Especially as a guitar player. Like I burn my finger constantly because it'll be on something hot and I won't feel it right away. Like that's kind of what's up. So when I'm typing, like I rely on my sense of touch, so I screw up that all the time. Because a lot of times I don't press hard enough, or I'll press too hard, I'll double up on it. It's not important. Me and my typos are not important. Not currently. It's not what we're talking about. I just, like, it's really just sort of the education and intelligence and diploma divide. Like, they're related, but they're not the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of people that aren't super intelligent that have diplomas. Like, it's a statistic with which you can kind of measure some things, right? Because people are always like, numbers and figures and stats, like, you can make them say anything you want. Like, yeah, you can, but, like, statistics really do have a place, in your day-to-day existence, right? Trying to figure things out. Like, it's important to know, like, if you know that there's like a 47% chance that Taco Bell is going to make you sick after you eat it, like, that's an important stat, Arguably, it's significantly higher than, say, an apple or, like, yogurt or something like that. Like, those are important statistics. And, like, if people, those correlations and stuff, like, the people argue against, like, the causality of them. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm all over the place today, but, like, people might remember the R.J. Reynolds lawsuits with tobacco and cancer, and they're like, people that smoke cigarettes, like, that causes cancer, and R.J. Reynolds was like, well, you don't know about causality and statistics. It could be that people that get cancer are more likely to like to smoke, which is, as a human being, like, you look at that, it's like, is it though? Like, is that really like what you just said? But, like, yeah, that's exactly what stats do. They, correlations, you can just kind of correlate. They're not really predictive. But I will say, like, man, I do see a lot of political stuff that is just poorly worded, usually with the wrong words, and then everything is misspelled, and it's like, how much more likely are you going to take that, the person seriously, like, if they can't even get their sentence across, right? And the reason I mention that is because one of the pieces of feedback that I'm getting from the right-wing hate sphere is every time I say something and, like, it publishes out, like, one of those shorts from this show, I get a lot of pushback about, like, can't even articulate a full sentence, or, sorry, articulate is way too big a word for them. Can't, insults so-and-so, but can't even get through a sentence. It's like, okay, first of all, I don't have a script. I'm literally talking, off the top of my head, like, I'm shooting from the hip here. My thoughts are kind of live streaming, like, I just really am talking in a live sort of streaming way, which is why a lot of times my show meanders around topic to topic. So I know that, and I know as I pause to think and say stuff, I do it so that I'm saying the correct words, right? You know what I mean? Like, trying to get my thought out and trying to get it out properly. I'm not Eminem here. I'm not like this major wordsmith that can just drop some knowledge on you and make it rhyme real fast. It's just not what I do. I tend to be a little bit more thoughtful and introspective and, like, try and say what I'm trying to say. But it's just so much fun, so funny, the amount of backlash I'm getting because I insulted, like, Fox viewers and stuff. Like, I quoted statistics, and people are like, oh, that study's been debunked. I'm like, by who? By Fox? Yeah, okay. Like, all right, like, sure, whatever. Like, you can debunk any study you want. Like, the sheer volume of information about, like, the intellect, intelligence, and diploma divides, not to mention the misinformation divides, with Fox viewers and other viewers of other, news agencies. I mean, Fox is way better than, like, Newsmax and OAN for the intelligent quotient of its listeners, and, of course, the misinformation divide. Like, like that whole case that came out, like with Dominion and like, the insurrection about like all the Fox here, and they got like all their text messages, and they were basically just admitting that they were lying to people, like, and people were believing them. And the best part was that people were believing them even after they were like, Tucker Carlson was like, we're basically lying to these people or whatever, and people still believe them. And the reason that is because they want to believe them. We talked last week about the confirmation bias. By the way, if you missed the top 20 last week, like the second half of it, so I guess the bottom 10 of the top 20, I thought was really, really good. When I'm talking about that, the short and the kind of recap on the study that I'd watched about confirmation bias, I put the link in the video description on YouTube. So I really encourage you to even if you're not going to listen to what I had to say about it, at least watch the 5 minutes of it, because it was just super interesting about how people are doubling down on information these days when they believe in it. Like, that's what they're using their intelligence on. So I don't think that that's going to get any better anytime soon. So I feel like it's important to sort of acknowledge that and understand that in the world. I know it had a lot to do with my pulling back off of Facebook and social media. It has absolutely everything to do with me not engaging in comments anymore on any of the Hard Rock Lunchbox shorts. I do still do the Strangerhood TV. That's why I kept that separate, and I will get to comments on there. I usually get to do them on the weekends. I didn't get to do it this weekend because I was just so busy with the show and stuff. But I usually, because I try and take time and actually, answer them. Like, obviously, if somebody's like, yo, rock on, I'll be like, yeah, man, thanks. That I can kind of answer in a little while. But, sometimes there's some thought-provoking stuff. And honestly, I don't know if you know this, but not everybody has a podcast. So I do try and take what they say seriously and read it. And I always am going to try and learn from them, because I think that's super important. But anyway, so that's the top 20. That's the one that's out today. I had something I wanted to talk about, and I'm just drawing a complete blank, unfortunately. But yeah, so you should check that out. I feel like that was something. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay, well, maybe it'll come back to me, maybe it won't. I do want to take a couple minutes and speak in some gratitude about our show this past Saturday night up at the Garage at Lucy's in Pleasantville, New York. I know I was talking ahead of time about being grateful for even being offered the show and being asked to be on it. That's a big shout out and thank you to my friend Dave from 10 Ton Mojo, who I've known for absolutely ever. They were awesome, by the way. They were fantastic. I mean, I know the kind of like the bent on 10 Ton Mojo is that it's like kind of like an older rock, but it's I don't know that it's older in the sense that people were doing it, decades ago, but it's not out of date. You know what I mean? Like, people, there's a market for it. People are absolutely listening to it. Like, is it cutting edge electronica post-hardcore? Absolutely not. Nor would I ever expect it to be. It's you got two guitar players playing both Les Pauls, long hair, hippie people, need not apply. Like, that's exactly the band that they are, and it's exactly the job that they do. And they consistently do it well. I used to talk about my friends in the band Station and about how their whole genre was like, the sort of 80s arena hair rock. And what I liked about them is that they're still writing new music. Yes, it's still in that vein, but because they're writing new music and not basically recycling and rehashing old music, it's still fresh. Like, there's a nuance. There's a way, there's a fine line and a way to walk that makes it possible. And I feel like 10 Ton Mojo does that all the time. I know I was totally joking with Dave about Broke Some Hearts in Memphis, because they have this section that's like a breakdown where they have some female backup singers, and they didn't have them at the show. And I'm like, what's up, man? Like, you gotta bring that in. That's like super important to the song. He's like, I know. It's just funny. But so they did a fantastic job, and the band that closed the night, Hunter Road, really good band, solid band for sure, but also, like, I don't want to say surprisingly nice guys, but I feel like that's not fair. They were just nice guys, really cool dudes, really cool band, and it surprised me, because I have not been afforded those courtesies a lot lately, locally here. And I really want to point out, like, kind of like how much of an eye-opener it was, but like not new information, just old information that was like I was being reminded of by being in a place like this. For those of you that are local to like our home area and stuff, I'm not sure the best way to describe the club to you. I guess in vibe and essence, it would be the closest to like Even Flow, the way Even Flow was. Possibly the original rail, the Crooked Rail, I guess, in East Northport. That sort of vibe, right? So they had a good stage. They had good sound. They had a good sound person. They were like, it was really important to them to actually do a correct show. Like there's a load-in like right by the stage. There's a door to go to the basement where all the gear go. Like, things are kind of thought out. I know anybody that ever performed at the Room in Connecticut when it was open, like that place was designed for musicians, right? Like you came in on the one side, you loaded up on the stage, you loaded off on the other side. There was like a little green room and stuff like that. Like they knew what they were doing because they were musicians and they did exactly that. So the Garage at Lucy's is very much like that. Like it feels very good to be on that stage. Sound was incredible. The sound guy was incredible. Like monitoring was everything. Was just perfect. I heard absolutely everything on and off the stage. I had seen a couple of videos. I saw the other bands play, obviously. I had seen a couple of videos that Tony's wife had taken of our band. It's like you could hear absolutely everything. So it was just really, really super nice. But we got there early. I'm not super fond of having to get to clubs super early if there's not like a guaranteed payment for that, because it's just like, why do I got to be here at 5 o'clock? Like, the fact that, the closing band had to be there at 5 o'clock and didn't get off stage till midnight, like, I've never really been a big fan of that. I understand why they do it. I'm still not a fan of it. But some places are like that, and that's the game you have to play, and that's the deal, and that's fine. I'm not going to speak ill on that because I know the deal going in, and I've accepted it and all that other stuff. But, like, you roll in there. I will tell you one of the coolest things about this place. So if you're standing in the back of the room, the stage is at the front, the bar is on the left, and then there's like a wall with like one of those rail tables, like that runs along the wall on the right. All the chairs were on the right side, as far from the bar as they possibly could be. And I talked to the bar manager about that because we were looking to find a place to set up merch, and he was saying the owner doesn't like the seats by the bar because people just park their ass in a chair and they'll just sit at the bar and, like, not necessarily ignore the bands, but, you've seen people at the bar. So they kind of ignore the bands, but they also block up the bar space. So if people just have to stand there, they can lean in and get a drink. I will tell you, they had 2 bartenders working all night, and, like, I could get a drink pretty much whenever I wanted. There wasn't a whole lot of wait time. Like, they were really killing it. So they were, like, the idea that, they weren't putting seats by the bar, I thought was a really very pro-band sort of thing, which I thought was cool. The fact that, like, the bartenders knew what they were doing, and they were really just killing it in terms of their job, like, I thought was awesome. Like, every experience was good in this place. They had food. Bands got, like, a discount on food. I didn't have any of it, but, like, bands got a discount on food. Like, it was just good. And the creme de la creme of it all. It's our first time at this venue. It's actually, I believe, our first time ever playing in Westchester, like, as a county. So we had a couple people come, and I'm super, super grateful for the people that did come. I know that 10 Ton had asked some of their fans to stop by early to check us out. And when we were setting everything up, our original set time was like 8:30, and then the guy that was kind of running things, he was like, hey, do you mind if we push back to 8:45 in case there aren't enough people here for you to go and play on? Now, that sounds like it should be part of every single show. It isn't. It just isn't. Like, that's not a common courtesy that people afford the opening act, especially one from out of town. And I was super grateful to get it. We ended up starting at 8:40. We actually started at 8:40 on the dot, because there was like a big-ass clock, and I can monitor it, and, we were like, 8:40. We were Revel 9, and we went right into San Jose and stuff like that. So, but it was it was a nice thing to be asked. It bought us like 10 minutes, but I will tell you, like, as doors opened at 8, like, people came in. Like, I don't know what the town is like. I don't know if, like, this is the only game in town and that's why people were showing up. But, like, by the time we hit the stage, there were 40 to 50 people in the room. And again, this is our very first time in this place, this venue, this location, this county. And there were people that were definitely there to check us out. And there were people that were super interested to check us out. Like, we started, they gave us a look, and they spent the entire 45 minutes of our set, like, watching our set, or 40 minutes of our set watching our set, which is awesome. Like really, really awesome. And then, like, as I walk off stage, we take all of our stuff downstairs, we get off. I'm walking through the room because I'm going to put my briefcase away, and the bar manager, he, like, reaches out his hand. He's like, "You guys slayed it." Sound guy was super into it. The staff was super into it. A bunch of people in the audience had taken pictures, so they were showing us the pictures they had taken. These are all things that people that are into a band do. Like, if you suck ass up on stage, like, people aren't going to be interested in in talking to you after. They're certainly not going to be like, "Look at this great picture I showed you." Like, people were asking, because I made an announcement about Keep You Near and, all the 100,000 plays, and about Aaliyah being brand new. And people were like, "What was the name of that song you said was brand new?" And I'm like, "It's this, it's Spotify." I said something about Napster from the stage. Some dude was like, "I love Napster." I'm like, "Yeah, go up on Napster. You can find Aaliyah right now." Like, that sort of engagement. Like, these people were interested in, like, I know New York City and the boroughs are kind of always been famous for, like, being too cool for school and stuff like that, but, like, the simple fact is that Long Island is getting very much like that too. There's a lot of people that just don't even bother to give the bands the time of day that are out there playing. And I understand that people are busy and sometimes people just want to hang with their friends and stuff like that. I really do get it. Like, I really do. I would argue that it is such a much better experience when you kind of come together and do the thing that you're doing. Now, I was not at the Pathmaker show, but I know it was basically like a big collection of everybody that's, friends with each other in the scene. So I'm hoping that that's kind of how that went down, and that everybody watched, or checked out at least, all the bands and stuff, and were supportive of each other and all the other things. I mean, I do know that the last time I played, like, at the Unplugged at Nostalgia, like, I did not get that. I did not get the respect of, like, attention from most of the room, unfortunately. And then, people just leaving. Now, there's reasons for that, and I've talked to people, and I've talked to Jimmy about it. It's like about it running extra late and all that other stuff. And, other people had said, like, it was probably just too late for a Friday, and, like, that could very well be. I'm just saying, like, it was sort of like the peak of that I've been seeing. And, I've seen it at other places with other bands, especially when you mix bands that are really not maybe good to be playing together. Like, a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, I'm getting out of here, so I'm not going to watch that." I understand that. Like, I've had a lot of that where bands just, like, hang out outside. Like, even me, like, I try and not speak so much before I play, but I'm usually sitting there watching the bands. The only time I won't do that is if people are actively talking to me before I perform, because I don't shut up, obviously. If you're a fan of this show, you know that. So I don't shut up a lot, and it's bad for my voice. I don't know why I could sing for 3 hours, but I can only talk for 1, and I don't know. It's just kind of a weird thing. But it was so nice to be a part of a scene and a situation where people were happy to see you. Like, I just met most of these people, and they were happy to see us. One of the funnier interactions is after we were playing, we were talking to this older couple, that was, I guess they had missed us, or they saw our last song. We closed with Another Mistake, by the way, so if you know the band, like, that's kind of a pretty good, like, check us out kind of card afterwards. But they were talking, and they were like, he was like, "Sorry, we missed you. We go to all these local shows. We'll definitely see you next time." And I was like, "Well, they said they were going to have us back, so whatever." And he's like, "Okay, you guys on Instagram? I'll follow you on Instagram." I was like, "Yep." Instagram comes right to me. I'm not super fast with it. Usually takes me a day or two to kind of catch up on social media stuff, so I'm not ignoring you. Just, like, message me. It'll come right to me. It's a human being. It's not some service. But we were talking to them, and we're just sort of talking about what they like. So I hand them the Razorblade Diaries CD. I'm like, "It sounds like this is, like, right up your alley, like, more bluesy based, more rock based." Like, and he's like, "Oh, it's like, I really appreciate that." And then he starts talking about the other album, about Do No Harm, and I hand it to him. He's like, I want to pay for it. I'm like, all right, how about $3? And he gets mad at me. I'm like, okay, $5. Like, CDs really aren't something that we're able to sell unless we sign them. Like, the vinyl's always full price, but like $5 for the CD. And he takes out a 20 and he drops it on the table. He's like, that's what we're doing. And I was like, all right, well, you want to play that game? So I picked up the Reality Crush. I'm like, well, then you're taking this and you're getting all three as a hat trick for $20. And like, honestly, we still make money as a band because of that. But I feel like that interaction made a fan probably for life, which is awesome. And I said everything else you can hear on Spotify. And like, don't forget, we've got a live record coming out pretty soon and another single. Like, all that stuff. Like, I was excited to talk to these new people because they were excited to talk to me about the band. Like, it was a nice reminder of what's actually out in the world. And I realized that, like, I have not been putting my best foot forward here in the local scene for quite some time. There are reasons for that. Aside from which, like, I'm just tired of being sidestepped by everybody. And, like, if I'm not wanted to be included in what's going on locally, like, I can take a hint. Like, I just need to know if it's with intention or if I'm just constantly slipping people's minds. And by me, I don't mean me personally. I mean my band, like Revel 9. Like, why are we being sidestepped all the time? And, like, I've heard some reasons of, like, well, we can't have this band and this band because you bring the same crowd. And yet, like, I spent 2 years building exactly that so we would bring the same crowd so the crowd would have, like, a really good time. So that argument never really flies with me because I fly in the face of that and have very successful shows, or have had very successful shows doing exactly the opposite, and not have it always be a fan grab or a money grab or whatever. But, like, I can't make people just take on my philosophy because I asked them to, so, like, that's fine. But, like, my point is that stepping out of that for even just a moment was such a good reminder of what it can be, what it should be, and what it was for a very long time while I was really trying to push that agenda. I thought it was important. I still think it's important. I may be too old and too tired to make it all happen, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. And it doesn't mean that it's not worth fighting for. So I do hope that if any bands are listening to me right now, they take that to heart and listen to what I'm saying, because it makes a difference. It makes the scene better. And anybody that was around over the past 10 years must remember what it was like, because it was really great. Like, we did some great stuff. And I think we should probably try and do that again. I know I can't do it by myself. And honestly, I don't want to anymore. It's just too much. And it's not fair to me. It's not fair to my band to actually be doing all that heavy lifting. So it's time for some other people to step up. And if they don't want to, that's fine. I guess we can just go play elsewhere. And that's going to be fine too, because we had a really good time with a couple of really great bands, and it was nice to be a part of that. But that's my top 20 for today, kids. Speaking of local bands I happen to adore, it's a little all-new episode, and we'll start the box.